Hi guys, so I don't like making these videos where you have to question the family in these cases. I always try to do it from the victim's side and from the victim's family side, but when there are so many red flags, they have to be acknowledged and talked about. Now, I believe that certain things going on in this investigation and certain things being hidden from the British public, and the only public kind of view that we ever see of Jay's mum is in regard to advertisement of this GoFundMe, which so far we've been seeing constantly and consistently it being used for really shitty purposes, and none of the stuff it should be used for. We've also seen Mark Williams Thomas, a guy who's an absolute legend and professional in his field, going out and beginning to do some investigating and really encouraging the family to use that fund for proper searchers to go out. Now, with 50k, you could employ a whole force of specialist volunteers and ex-police officers to come out and do an investigation for a month. And that may lead to the answers you need to return home to the UK with your baby boy. Now, today we've seen more drama when it comes to the GoFundMe with one of the TikTokers, Cal, who's out there being upset that Debbie has publicly put out on the GoFundMe page that she has been paying for his expenses, also his accommodation and his flights. So then Debbie responded to that by taking Cal out of the GoFundMe announcement, and then Cal's come out with a statement that says, in fact, she was contributing to his flights and his accommodation. So I'm not really sure how much is being contributed, but now Debbie has responded with another post, which again talks about the fundraising. We also had more media today that said the family planned to fundraise throughout the whole of the summer in order to search for Jay, which is a really bitter pill to swallow when the funding and the crowdfunding that's been done so far is not being used in a productive manner. This was kind of Debbie's response that was put out by Rachel Haag. You could pause to read it properly. It goes on to say, my beautiful son Jay is still missing, and believe me, this is no holiday. Mystery that surrounds his disappearance and may never surface. We as a family are truly devastated. I did not ask for the publicity from the start. I'm pretty sure publicity is not the problem here. With every missing persons family, you want as much publicity as you can possibly get. I've never met another missing persons family that would complain about publicity, apart from those families who don't get the publicity they need to bring their loved one home. And then it goes on to say, for those of you who are more concerned about the GoFundMe page, like Debbie herself at this point, I can assure you that up until now it's not been used, and our stay has now been financed by ourselves. I have proofs of transactions and transfers, blah, blah, blah. Now, the fact that these statements are only ever put out to talk about the money side of things is so worrying, because so many weird things have been said, horrible things have been said about Jay. The public found out yesterday that he had kind of possibly, not sure I believe it myself, stolen a Rolex. And even then, there was no post put out to say, look guys, I understand what you're hearing today about my son. He's a 19-year-old boy. He's a good kid. We love him. He has begun to turn his life around. And regardless of what he's done, we still need him home. Where was that post in defence of Jay, his integrity, his character, and his legacy? But as soon as someone questions the fucking money, we'll get a whole post up. And this isn't a one-off. This is consistent. When if there is something that needs to be said about the GoFundMe or a call for funding, we hear from the family, Debbie in particular. If it's for arranging search parties, putting out appeals, putting out Jay's true description, doing media interviews to bring Jay home, none of that's being done. And that's where it crosses a line into the British public starting asking questions, and I'm sure the Spanish authorities as well, because it leaves open two very distinct possibilities here of what has happened to Jay. Either Jay is absolutely fine and has gone into hiding because of something he has done, and he is scared to come out because his life is in danger, and his mum is fully aware of where Jay is, and that money is being used to keep Jay safe, which is a definite possibility, because I've never met another missing person family who are 1 minute not wanting a GoFundMe, then wanted a 10k one, then wanted a 30k one, and then getting to 50 and still saying, please keep giving to this GoFundMe that we're not even hiring any specialists with. Either he is absolutely safe and Debbie knows that he is, or Jay is truly missing and no one gives a fuck. And I hate saying that, but the little bit that we are seeing over here is like we had a whole search team, a whole group of hikers out there that had dedicated their time, their energy, their lives to searching for Jay. They're mapping it out. They're going to new areas every day. And today they quit because they've been giving false information from Rachel Haag and the family about what they should be searching for, what trainers Jay had on. From the very beginning, they've been told he was wearing one set of trainers and they have been looking for those footprints out in the mountain. Now they had, Mark yesterday announced that it was actually a completely different set of trainers. So now they have wasted all of this time looking for a certain set of tracks in those mountains that never existed. Or did they? Is it not more possible and kind of clearer that Mark's gone out there, he's looked into whose feet they are on the Snapchat, and somehow they had to become Jay's trainers, not Brad's, not Brandon's, Jay's. So all of a sudden we're hearing he was wearing a completely different colour of footwear. Now the searchers are being told, oh, that's the footwear, because something's being covered up here, let's be honest. And now the searchers, the only decent search team out there, the only people who are actually digitally mapping out the areas they're searching, who could tell me today exactly what areas they've covered, exactly what areas were next, and exactly what areas they had long-term to cover, they have now given up. Because they're saying, if the family cannot talk to us and tell us what we're looking for, the accessory Jay's had on, what bag he had on, what t-shirt he had on, what trainers he definitely had on, then we are actually searching around for nothing at this point. Which in turn leads me to believe the reason that Team J, and I'm not including Warren in this, I don't think, because I really don't think Warren is in the loop about any of this. So Team J, meaning Debbie and Rachel Haag at the Hargreaves at the whole front of it, they are aware that Jay is not in the mountains. And so they are sending out people like Cal, people like Down the Rapids, people who they can give money to control the narrative of what these people may say, and they won't get in any trouble for it when it all comes out what's really happened here. Because if you hire professional search teams and people who you're legally bound to not use if you don't need them, then there could be trouble at a later date if you bring these people out to Spain in order to search Tenerife for Jay. I just can't see anything else going on here, because I try over and over again to put myself in this position where I've got a child missing abroad and I have 50k at my disposal. What would I do? I'm bringing in tracker dogs. I'm bringing in a team of cold case detectives, like ex-police officers who can get boots on the ground ASAP asking questions. I'm using some of that money to buy tips off the locals. I'm literally going out onto the mountains, and if I can't search them myself, I'm providing water and food packs to those who are searching. I'm printing out tens of thousands of flyers at a time and getting them all over Tenerife. I'm bringing in private detectives. I'm literally doing everything I can with that money. That money would be gone by now if it was me, because I literally would have brought in specialists straight away, knowing that if my child was lost out in those mountains, I'm on fucking borrowed time. And can I just say at this point as well, the only conceivable way that Debbie could still have a decent relationship with Brad, Lucy and Brandon, given what everyone else in the world knows, is if you're all working together for a common goal to cover up one thing. And that is that Jay must be alive somewhere, because how else would all of this fit in? Because if you got to a foreign country and you know, even if it wasn't their fault, even if it's just naturally your instincts are that these people are supposed to keep your son safe and all three of them are sat there, still fine, and there's one person missing, it's my son, I'm going nuts, man. And I ain't going to look at you again until I've got my son in my arms. Just how I read it. It's taken me a long time to put this video together because I didn't want to have to say any of this. But day after day after day after day after day, it's all just adding up to something is fucking amiss out here.